Okay, Coach Grimes here again with Advantage Youth Tennis. And today we're going to talk about a point in our match against Copper Sun. So we're focused on court number 2 here, and you see that the Copper Sun team on the far right have just served and they're in the two-back position. Now, they may have a legitimate reason for being in this position. Perhaps they've been on the receiving end of some powerful returns. Most likely, however, they're in that position because they're just not comfortable at the net. The problem with this position is that you've committed yourself to start the point out on defense. And when you're serving, you always want to start the point on offense. Now let's look at our side of the net. We see our net player, Alex, has completely turned his head to watch Sarah return serve. Now, they're so passive they'll probably never do it, but what if the Copper Sun players decide to follow that serve into the net? By the time Alex tracks the ball back over the net, the Copper Sun players will be volleying it at his feet. Also, Alex's posture is straight up and down, as are the Copper Sun players. There is no way you can make quick changes in directions from this position. Now we're going to let this sequence play through in real time. Then we're going to go back in slow motion and talk about some of the techniques. So let's look at Sarah's footwork in slow motion. She's waiting for the return to serve. Her weight is forward. Her knees are bent. I'd like to see a little less back bend. There's a split step. Good. Hits the ball. A little bit on the back foot. Gets back into position. She recovers. This is good. Back. Now the ball's coming again. I'd like to see a second split step there. Hits the ball. Back into position. Now she split steps again. Ball's coming back. This is where she gets in trouble. She leans back on this ball, opening her racket face, and it's going to cause the ball to sail long. So overall, pretty good job on the footwork by Sarah. Now let's go to super slow-mo and look at the ground stroke and see what we see there. So what you're going to see in this sequence is the second ball that she hits. Alex's knees are bent now. Thank you, Alex. Sarah's opponent has hit the ball, and she's preparing to return it while the ball is still on the other side of the net. This is good. Here you see her unit turn, and as the ball comes across, we are going to pause it right there. So there you see the ball. A couple things I want to point out with this. Number one is Sarah is in her load position in her unit turn. I would like to see at this point her left hand start to come to the left. She should already be opening up at this point because that ball is going to get there pretty quick. And you want to open up before the ball gets there so that you can transfer your full weight into the shot. The other thing I'd like to point out is that the ball is just beginning its descent and it's going to drop around Sarah's shoulder height. Much better to position yourself so that the ball drops into your strike zone, that is between your knees and your waist. This allows you to bring your torso to bear, putting your weight squarely behind the ball and allowing you to drive it with force and direction. We're going to let it finish. One more thing I'd like to see is a bigger racket drop. Ideally, you'd like to drop your racket a foot below the contact point. This allows you to get good lift over the net and put shape on the ball, which increases your margin for error. I do like the fact that Sarah finishes high over her shoulder, though. Now, let's look at Copper Sun's forehand technique. Now, I must say that her footwork is virtually non-existent. However, she gets a good strong unit turn and starts to open up before the ball gets there, beginning the kinetic chain. She drops her racket well below the point of contact and drives up and through, creating enough topspin so that the ball lands at the service line and bounces high enough to drive Sarah back behind the baseline. Takeaways. Two back puts you on defense and should only be used by a very weak server. Don't turn around and look at your partner. It helps no one. Move your feet. And finally, use the kinetic chain to add spin and shape to your ball. We'll see you next time on Advantage Youth Tennis.